For 6-year-old Emma, few things held such a high place of honor as the strong women, fictional or real, whom I looked up to. I was a religious watcher of early computer-animated Barbie movies, where my favorite blonde heroine would go on magic adventures. I was obsessed with the debut album of Taylor Swift, and I played it over and over again in my CD boombox. Of course, I was also a voracious reader, and one snarky, smart-mouthed girl reigned supreme. This protagonist was Junie B. Jones. Junie B. was outspoken, stubborn, and unapologetic, everything I strived to be. She was a revolutionary, prompting me and my friends to begin asking questions about what it meant to be a girl and a person. These questions of personhood and gender helped shape our interest in feminism, making Junie B. Jones an important origin point of our feminist journey. But what does Junie B. Jones actually teach girls about themselves? And how does this play into the expectations of what children's literature should do? Today, we tackle an important question that has plagued a generation of young women. Is Junie B. Jones a feminist? First things first, let's take a step back and give a brief overview on the Junie B. Jones series. To talk about this series is to talk about Barbara Park, the woman responsible for bringing Junie B. to life. Park wrote 31 Junie B. Jones books between 1992 and 2013, when she passed away. Each Junie B. Jones book covers a different theme or subject, but most of them are based on her interactions with her family, friends, and teachers. She often faces conflict with authority figures and social conventions, navigating a world she doesn't quite understand yet. Park writes the books through first-person point of view, which means the books are full of purposefully incorrect grammar, and I'm gonna heavily lean into the air quotes for this one, quote, bad language, like stupid or dumb. When I cracked open some Junie B. Jones books for this project, I assumed I'd come face to face with the rebellious musings of a young feminist, someone who inspired me to be the person I am. However, it's not that simple. That's because issues of girlhood and gender aren't very prominent in these books. I looked over several books I assumed would be rich with feminist takes. For example, I looked through Junie B. Jones is Not a Flower Girl, which I imagine would investigate the tradition of marriage. Now, Junie B. Jones does notice her mother's reaction to the wedding, saying it's, quote, must be a big deal. However, Junie B. doesn't even give the wedding the time of day. Here is what she says directly after her encounter with the flower girl at the church. After the church, everyone went to the reception. The reception is a big giant room where you all sit at tables, and you listen to loud music, and you eat food and cake. Here, the wedding is totally demystified and is completely left out. That's because Junie B. Jones doesn't care about any of this. It's the same thing in Junie B. Jones and the Mushy Gushy Valentine, which I figured had to show a young feminist learning about love and romance. Spoiler alert here, she discovers that her class enemy, Meanie Jim, is her secret admirer. This is her reaction after he tells her to keep it secret. After that, we runned off to play with our friends. Otherwise, people might think we like each other. That would ruin everything. On the Junie B. Jones website, Park even talks about her character's future womanhood succinctly. When asked, when Junie B. grows up, will she marry Meanie Jim? She replied, I don't really think about Junie B. ever being a grown-up, but I'm not sure her best choice would be to marry someone who's known as Meanie. Furthermore, when asked, will Junie B. be a smart woman when she grows up or funny like she is now, Park says, well, there's no reason to have to choose one over the other, right? Junie B. will be a smart, funny woman. Rather than leaning into Junie B.'s femininity, Park keeps it at a distance. This is where Junie B. Jones splinters off from other more feminine girlhood texts. In my Barbie movies and my Taylor Swift songs, femininity meant girl power. It was doing your hair, wearing your lip gloss, and falling in love with a man while still being a strong, independent woman. This affirmation of the traditionally feminine is important, but it doesn't really have a place in Junie B. Jones. However, even if Junie B. Jones is not a feminized character, this doesn't mean she can't be a feminist. As said by Sarah Ullery for Book Riot, it is perhaps because Junie B. sheds her stereotypical femininity that she becomes so iconic. Ullery says, Junie B. is unruly and undisciplined and full of indignation. She possesses the unconstrained confidence of a child, not a girl child or a boy child, but a child. The gender bias and behaviors of adults have not yet caught on. Junie B. has not learned to temper her emotions, to lower the volume of her voice, or that boys, by nature, are bigger, better, stronger. And to their credit, or to Barbara Park's credit, the adults in her life do not belittle or degrade Junie B. for her unladylike antics. She's not told little girls aren't supposed to do that, or you should know better because you're a girl. In so much of the pop culture media presented to girls, it's important that the protagonist embraces her femininity in a way that doesn't press against the gender binary. In these depictions, the protagonist can often be described as a girl first and a person second. Junie B. Jones does not prescribe to this. She's a girl, yes, and her literature certainly has a part in many young girls' lives, but she's a child first, and a flawed one at that. This authenticity has made Junie B. Jones beloved, but it's also made her the source of anger and criticism. To dive into the heart of this criticism, one only needs to travel over to Common Sense Media, an organization that provides, quote, trusted reviews with families in mind, and is funded by beloved billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg. The site divides reviews from parents and children, and on the Junie B. Jones site, the two sides are heavily divided. While the parents' thoughts seem to focus on Junie B. Jones's behavior and her choice of bad language, children have a very different picture of the series, often embracing Junie B. Jones's flaws and dismissing the bad language. The children's comments also echo that Junie B. Jones should be allowed to make mistakes, which absolutely echoes Sarah Ullery's claims about Junie B. having a support system, which guides her through her troubles. Even Barbara Park has mentioned that she pays no attention to her critics, because the goal has always been to give children a character who works through the real world she's constantly bewildered by. She says in a New York Times article, quote, "People act as if I'm teaching children how to blow up cats. The worst thing she does is maybe call someone stupid, but that's just her being a 5-year-old. You'd hear worse than that walking across any playground. And when she acts out, kids who are reading it know that she's doing something wrong." Through the lens of the stubborn, often misguided Junie B., Park gives children of all genders something unique and incredibly rare. She gives them the agency to make decisions about the text. Her young readers are encouraged to question her protagonist, drawing in questions about behavior and expectations that are often glossed over in children's lit. Perhaps Junie B. Jones is not a traditional feminist figure, but she is undoubtedly a catalyst for many future feminists, myself included, who began asking those deeper questions because of her and decided to never stop.